Okay, welcome back to episode 5, I think it is, of the Story Seeker podcast. It's been a long time. I tried to record episode 5. I did record an episode 5 with my friend Lucas, who is one of my college friends, a fellow film major, and somehow we recorded with two wireless microphones, and one of them just got corrupted, lost the files. So I can't really do anything with that one. But yeah, it's been a while. I was definitely hoping to be more consistent with the podcasts and just with making personal stuff for social media or generally in my first few months of school. And that hasn't happened for the most part, and that's fine. But I'm glad to be back. I have a light blasting in my face right now. This is a completely different setup than the type of setup I usually have. It's not something I would ever really think to do, but I was planning on, there's a light right out of frame, right, and I was planning on putting a softbox on it, but I was kind of intrigued. I just set up the light without the softbox because that's what you do, and then I was going to put the softbox on. And then I looked at how it was showing up on the wall, and I thought it was cool. And so I put a reflector on it, and then we turned out with this. So I'm very happy with it. I think it's really cool. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Oh God, it's been a while. So as you can see, I have a little bit more facial hair than previous episodes. Been growing it out a little bit. What else has changed? I just bought this olive green sweater. Buying some new clothing for myself, some warm clothing, because I don't have enough clothing. I do have enough clothing, but I don't have a ton of clothing. And yeah, so I got this sweater today in the mail, and I wanted to wear it. I don't know if you could hear that, but there's a siren in the distance. There's sirens a lot here. I go to school at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and it's a city with crime and lots of ambulances and sirens. I had a sudden urge to make a podcast today, and I'm trying to think of what spurred it. I think it was mainly just having a lot of feelings that I wanted to get out. That doesn't really make very much sense, but, or maybe it makes sense, but it's not exactly what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it just kind of, today has been, I think, a culmination of a lot of the trends and changes that I've noticed in myself in my first semester of college. I think that was a concise, clear, somewhat way of saying it. Today I presented a rough draft of a film of mine in my film production class, and I had some hesitations about it. I had some reservations, I guess is really the better word. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. When I was editing it last night till like 3 a.m. in the morning, I was pretty happy with it, and I knew that there could be some changes made to it. And after showing it today, I don't know, I was hit with a few interesting ideas. I'll just talk about what the film is. It doesn't have a name yet, but it starts and ends with me saying, I have a weird obsession with alleyways. And the prompt for this project was to create a portrait of a place, a documentary that is a portrait of a place. So I chose to make my place alleyways in general, and use alleyways to tell a personal narrative, a personal story, something personal. So I start by talking about, I have a weird obsession with alleyways, a little hook. And then how I see alleyways, their leading lines, the depth that they have, how I think they're really pretty and they make for really good photos. And I've shot films, scenes for films in alleyways. I've shot, done photo shoots in alleyways, portraits. And then kind of reflecting on that and asking myself, first thinking, why do I notice alleyways, and other people and why do I notice alleyways, and why don't more people appreciate them, maybe is a good way of saying it. And coming to a conclusion of some kind that I have this sort of glorified view, if you will, of alleys as these pretty photo spots, when some people have associations with alleyways as being places where you don't want to be, because they can be dangerous. And I feel like the way I'm saying this sounds really stupid and like a privileged kid talking about an issue he doesn't know about. And that's kind of some of the things I'm wrestling with. I'm using a lot, I think. Overall, though, I've been pleasantly surprised with how the podcast has gone so far. It's still quite young. I don't know how many minutes have elapsed. I'm going to check my phone real quick because I got some texts. Again. Anyways, yeah, it feels like things have been flowing. For the most part, I've been not using a ton of filler words. I feel good. I feel comfortable sitting here on my bed in my dorm, and I feel good. I feel warm. Maybe it's this light shining on me. So, where was I? The film. Yeah. So, raising the questions and asking, is my view of alleyways, does it come from this privileged place, and sort of, should I see them in a different way? Should I be scared of them? And wondering, if I grew up in a different place, would I still see alleyways the same way? I'm sort of re-saying the voiceover script from the film. And eventually concluding that while some people may have a vastly different view of this place compared with me, that their perspective is not my story to tell, and I can only tell my perspective, essentially. It's, I don't know. it's something. It doesn't feel quite right to me. I don't think the film has totally accomplished what I wanted to. I think the feeling that I had after screening it was a feeling of insecurity that my that I make I'm a kid who makes the air conditioning just turned on in my room. Hopefully it'll turn back off soon. I could turn it off actually. I'm gonna leave it on for now. Hopefully it's not too bad for the audio. I'll try to talk maybe a little bit louder. As I was saying, brought up the insecurity that I am this kid who knows how to make pretty pictures and doesn't really have anything to say. And that my perspective is not truly meaningful. I think that feeling comes from a few things. One thing I think is that there is some truth in that. And I'll come back to that idea. The other thing is the environment that I'm in is a different environment. I'm in a film school, surrounded by people who have things to say, and not completely, but generally have things to say. People who are interested in making films, truly. People who are interested in making films. And making films is not the main thing that I think I want to do. In my opinion, my thoughts on that have not changed since coming to school. At least the idea that I don't want to make a living from making films. I would rather make a living from creating commercial videos, photography, through social media, through other means than filmmaking. And filmmaking, for me, what I think is that it can be that can be my passion project. Those can be my passion projects. Making short films on the side as a fun thing, as art and not as a job, as an amateur. And in my film class yesterday, we made a distinction between amateur and professional, which I suppose is sort of obvious, but wasn't to me, or had never thought about it before, which was that amateur and professional is not necessarily a difference in the level of skill that you have, but rather an amateur creates art, an amateur artist creates art for non-commercial purposes, for their own passion, for their own desire, whatever it is. Whereas a professional is creating art to make money. And that is the sole distinction. And I think I would rather be an amateur filmmaker and a professional cinematographer, I'm going to use the word influencer, a professional YouTuber, maybe not that, a professional something else. And most of these people, I think, that I'm surrounded by, my peers, I said that so weirdly, they, I think, want to be professional filmmakers. Now, me saying I want to be a professional cinematographer is, in a way, a professional filmmaker. I could be a cinematographer for narrative films. And I'm in the film industry. But I suppose it's more for me about the having creative control part that I don't necessarily, I don't know. I feel like I would rather have creative control over projects. I would rather direct and write and have creative control over projects that I actually have creative control over because they are my own, rather than having creative control over projects where I'm being handed money by someone else and given a box to fit into. Especially when that part of the industry seems to me like a more difficult one to break into. If I stumble into directing, being paid to direct films, I will probably do that happily. I don't think that will happen, and I don't think that will be my primary thing. Anyways, I'm going in circles and not making much sense now, I think. But I had the realization of the insecurity. I had the insecurity that I don't have much to say, and that these people have more to say than me. The other thing I think is the absence of making things over the past few months for social media, pretty much, and personal projects. Because with my YouTube videos, with my Instagram content, some of it is tutorials and some of it is things that aren't changing anyone's life in a significant way. And some of them are more meaningful. Some of them are go a little deeper. And I haven't been doing that stuff. I've been caught up with school and caught up with other things. And so I've lost that sense of audience, maybe, is the way to put it. That, like receiving feedback from people and getting messages from people and comments that, the messages, the stuff that I make, that they relate to it and that it means something to them. I haven't had that much over the past few months, and that's something that I had previously. And so I think the combination of losing that reinforcement that, hey, maybe the stuff I make is different than the people around me. Maybe I come from a different place and maybe I want to go more in their direction. Maybe I don't care to be in, maybe I don't care to go in that direction. But either way, that some people connect to the work that I make and take meaning from it, and it's meaningful to them. That's something that I've lost a little bit. And so again, I think those are what contributed to that feeling. What else? I feel like, I don't know, sometimes I just blank out, or I'm talking, and especially talking to a camera, that I feel like I'm putting more focus into what I'm saying in the current moment because I'm worried about how it's going to present and all these things, that I'm doing it again, that I don't think ahead at all as we usually do in our thoughts, as I usually do in my thoughts. And so sometimes I'll finish saying what I was going to say, and then I'll realize that I had just been thinking about saying that thing and nothing else, and now I have nowhere to go and nothing else to say, and I don't remember where the line of thought was leading me. So that's the position that I'm in right now. There was something else. I feel also inadequate in in how I express myself. To an extent, I think it's impossible to truly express yourself fully. No one else can understand you as well as you understand you, or at least have as many data points as you have on which to characterize you, empathize with you, whatever. It's happening again. Articulation. But I still, despite that, I know it to an extent it's impossible for someone else to fully understand me. And yet I think that it's more than that I just have trouble expressing myself, my thoughts, my feelings, all of the above. And really that's one of the main reasons that I talk about this in every single podcast episode I've done so far, I think. But one of the main reasons why I want to do this podcast. And I do truly want to get back into it. And that doesn't mean that there's going to be another episode next week, but I do see a lot of value in doing this. And as I'm doing it, I'm seeing things from it. I'm appreciating what it does for me. I don't know. I guess that a fair amount of people feel misunderstood in some kind of sense. And I'm one of those people. And I wonder, do I feel more misunderstood than most people, or is this relatively normal? I often come back over and over to that idea that realizing that people don't understand me to be the person that I hope they understand me to be. And to an extent, that to an extent I have myself to blame just in terms of the actions that I take and not acting in ways sometimes which align with the way I want to be, the person I want to be. I think that's what draws me to art, is feeling the need to express myself, and this being the best way that I know how. And there's many different ways to do it. You can talk to people, you can write, you can make drawings and paintings and films and YouTube videos and TikToks, and there's a million different mediums. You can write books, you can whatever. And this is the one that I've found. It could be any of those things. You can make music. But truly, I think it is just a struggle against being misunderstood in some way. I wonder how long this podcast has been going on for. I don't think it's been so long. I remember around when I started, wow, okay. I think it's been around 25 minutes. Wait, maybe. Yeah, probably around 25 minutes, which is good. We're doing good. I'm trying to think if there's more that I want to talk about. It's definitely a feeling that I've had too. And this is, in some ways, what the Alleyways film is about. Struggling with the idea that other people's struggles are more serious than my own. And when I'm confronted with that head on in ways that I haven't been, I've been aware, I've been intellectually aware of the struggles that other people deal with, right? We're all aware of the things people go through across the world and in our own country and in our own cities, all around us, which are almost unimaginable in some cases. But until you're confronted with it head on, I don't know, it's interesting. You can be intellectually aware of that, and I was intellectually aware of that, as most people are. And now that I'm being confronted with that head on through interacting with more people who are different than me, it makes me question my own life in interesting ways. It makes me wonder, as an artist who wants to make things that would have inspired the old me, is maybe a way of saying it. That's not a motto or a real hard goal, or there's more to it than that, but that's one way of saying it. Oh, someone just slammed their door. The doors here slam really hard and they shake everything. So camera probably shook. The wall definitely shook. Whole room shakes. There goes the air conditioning again. I was saying that. Oh, God. What was I saying? Yeah. It makes me question it makes me question sometimes the purpose of me sharing my stories, when there are stories so much more serious, so much more painful. That's something I've been struggling with. And intellectually, I have a quick answer that my brain, that I tell myself, which is that everyone's story matters, and that, all pain is pain, or whatever. There's some phrase, pain is pain. And not to compare, and to do my own work, and with Alleyways, again, it's not my story to tell. I can only tell my story, and yet my heart doesn't fully accept that, and I don't know what the answer is, or if there is one. I feel like I'm speaking very much in abstracts today. And yeah, maybe not making so much sense in some cases. But yeah, how much more time has elapsed? 5 minutes since I last checked. I'm looking over to my right and seeing a little thing of spicy ramen. I have been craving spicy food a lot recently. I don't know why that is. If I just haven't been getting my fair share here. There's been a lot of environmental adjustments to college which have just taken time to reveal themselves. Like I expected that within the first couple weeks, that's when the hardest time of change would be, because my environment is changing just so suddenly, just on a dime. One day I'm waking up in my bed at home, and next day I'm waking up right here. And there's a random guy in my room, and my roommate, of course. And, I'm in a building with 500 other college kids, and I have classes, and I'm on my own, and not with my family, and in a totally different place geographically, and all that stuff. I assumed all of that change I would notice within the first few weeks, and it would be a tough time of transition. And honestly, the first few weeks was very smooth, and I was thinking, okay, I guess I made it. I guess that's it. But as the weeks have gone on, and now it's been over 3 months since I've been here, and there are changes that I've just been noticing now to my environment that just have had impacts on me that I'm only now seeing, which I suppose makes sense when you think about it. But I was a few weeks in, and I was just like, yeah, I'm good. I guess everything's fine. The transition was good, and now I can just live. But really, it can take some time to reveal some of those things. Again, speaking very much in abstracts. I have definitely been craving doing personal work, making things I care about. It's therapeutic to me, as it is for us artists. And I've already talked about it, but I can talk about some of the projects I'm hoping to work on soon. I have a short film scripted out, which will just be a couple minutes, but I want to make it really good. I want to put a lot of time into it. I came up with the idea with 3 of my closest friends, and I'm really excited to shoot it. I'll spoil this one as well, even though it's not spoil. I will end at this one. I'll talk about it as well, even though it's a more serious project to me, which will hopefully come out on this YouTube channel. Not on this YouTube channel, on the Ben Lerner YouTube channel at some point. It's called Sonder, Sonder. If you've heard of the word, it comes from a cool book called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. And it is the sudden realization that each random passerby is living a life as deeply vivid and complex as your own. So it's a film exploring that feeling. It is going to involve a lot of different actors, a lot of different talent, of different ages and demographics. And that is kind of what has held me up so far. Also a bunch of different locations probably, even though it's short. So yeah, I don't love the producing side of things, the figuring out locations and cast and crew and logistics and scheduling. So for the last month plus, I've just, since we came up with the idea, I've just been procrastinating on that stuff, honestly, and I really want to get into it, and um, I'm going to reach out to some potential talent and see if I can find people who fit the demographics we're looking for and walk around, do some location scouting. It's hard. There's always things going on. There's always assignments I have. There's always something to do. And it takes a really conscious effort to do projects like this that no one is telling me I have to do, and which are propelled mainly by myself. Yeah. I didn't mean to get like emotional there. That wasn't meant to be emotional beat. I just forgot. I just went silent. Other than that, I would like to get back to making videos for YouTube, for Instagram. I don't think it's going to happen until winter break, which is almost a month long and is coming up in a couple weeks. And in 2 weeks from today, is my last and only in-person final exam. So after that, I'll be really done. And then I'll have a nice break. I'm so excited to go skiing. I think about skiing almost every day now. And I'm just hoping that it gets cold and it stays cold so I can go skiing as soon as possible. I'm going to be on a little vacation with my family right after school ends, beginning of winter break, for about a week to Florida, which I'm excited about. It'll be nice to spend some time with them and go to a completely different environment and somewhere where it's a little warmer. Although I would love to go somewhere colder and ski there. I've been talking with my friends here about potentially meeting up, doing something for a break. That would be cool. I've made really good friends here, generally, and I really value them. And yeah, that's something that I wasn't a given to me. It wasn't something that I was just like, oh yeah, of course I'm gonna have really, really good friends that I deeply connect with. And that has been the case. I feel really lucky. I definitely have been looking for really deeply ambitious, driven people. And I consider myself to be one of those people. And I haven't found that exactly. And there's a few reasons I think to that. I, in the last few months, have not acted especially driven, especially hardworking towards my goals, towards my professional goals at least. during the summer and other times I've committed myself almost entirely to my work. And I'm so excited to dive into all of the work that I want to be doing when I get some time off from school. But, especially in a first semester at college, that hasn't been my top priority, and that's been a change. And seeing that and considering that, how can I expect other people to act in a way that I'm not acting, that I'm not willing to act, that I haven't been acting? Expecting other people to be super driven and producing their own films on the side and personal projects and all these things when I'm not doing all that much of that. I'm doing much less than I have in the past. And so maybe they are too. Or maybe that's just not something they do. Either way, but I don't know, I am reluctantly coming to realize that there are some things which do just take time. And this is a whole another situation with whether I want to stay in school and what I want to study going into the future, and that it could be a whole future episode. But I am reluctantly coming to see how it just takes some time for things, and I don't want to wait 4 years for something to happen. But I have been getting things out of the experience that I hadn't imagined. I've been getting different things out of my college experience than I thought I would in some senses. It hasn't been much about in the weeds, doing the work, learning about film, which I suppose I didn't really expect. It hasn't even been about collaborating with fellow artists on projects. It definitely has not been about that. But it has been about making meaningful connections with people and considering perspectives different to my own. I think that's where I'm going to end the podcast episode today. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you're still listening, you likely know me well. Whether it's because you know me well in real life or because you've listened to me ramble for a long time. Honestly and candidly, as much as possible. I truly thank you for listening. It means a lot to me, very much, that anyone cares enough to listen. And yeah, I am always very happy to read comments about absolutely anything you'd like to talk about, anything that I talked about, your own life, your own problems, whatever it is. Comment section is a safe space, so feel free to write to your heart's desire. All right. I'll see you in the next episode, hopefully. Hopefully not too long.